fight begins. Russell Westbrook, James Harden, their gaudy stats head-to-head. Thunder Rockets, NBA playoffs, round 1, game 1. Whatever they were doing, it appears that gets them ready to, play the basketball. Westbrook, triple over Patrick Beverley. Nice. Thunder by 2. Third quarter, they're down 10. Westbrook just 3 of 11 from 3. 6 of 23 shooting overall. He gets that one to go, but 22 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Patrick Beverley, the spark in this one. First off, he just gets leveled by Steven Adams on the pick. And OKC comes away with 3. Let's go ahead and get a molar count on Beverley here. Wham! I'm the captain now. Beverley comes right back at him. Rockets led by 8. Harden. Beverley, thank you very much. Over Victor Oladipo, who was just 1 of 12 shooting for OKC. Beverley, 21 points, 10 rebounds, and a wealth of emotion. 2 minutes to go in the quarter. Rockets are up 13. And now Harden, he makes like Marcus Haynes. Oh, yeah, there you go. Like he's the Curly Neal, only the opposite, because he's as hairy as you can be. Curly was bald. Rockets by 15 into the fourth quarter, and they just continue to rout the visitors from up north. Rockets up 20. Harden, the lead grows to 23. They outscored him 59-33 in the second half. Harden, 37 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. Eat it all up. 118-87. Rockets up 1-0 in that series. For James Harden, 13th career 30-point playoff game, ties Moses Malone for the second most in franchise history. Mo played a vastly different game. He still has a ways to go to reach Hakeem Olajuwon, who is the franchise's all-time leader with 53 30-point games. Russell Westbrook, as we told you, just 6 of 23 from the floor. Not so great. 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Turned it over 9 times. So there would be your triple-double, but not in the best way. And again, his team only down 5 at half, but outscored in the second half 59-33, and they end up losing by 31 points. We look at them head-to-head against Westbrook. Not against Harden, but against Patrick Beverley. Yeah. Had just 1 fewer point than Russell, 1 less point. It was 22-21 in 3 games. Both Westbrook and Beverley played head-to-head this season. Westbrook had outscored him 115-14. We wiped the slate clean, though, for the playoffs.
That's a pretty convincing win for Mike D'Antoni,
yes.
Who's speaking now at the podium. We'll get some other reaction from players and also Stephen A. Smith as well as the Rockets. Can they be a threat? Can they hang with the Warriors and with the Spurs? And this is certainly a good start to win by 31.
Right. I think that's the bigger battle.
Yep.
I mean, it's intriguing to watch Harden and Westbrook play against each other, but in terms of teams, Harden certainly has a better team, as shown by their record, not just third in the West, but third overall in the NBA. Live coverage, new here on SportsCenter. I believe that's so. Mike D'Antoni. Don't recognize him without the mustache anymore.
Guys to step up. We did it. Now it's one game, and got to come back here Wednesday and do it again.
Mike, have you've had so many players that you've coached, and obviously really talented, fiery guys, but have you had anyone like Beverley before who does all those little things? You call him the unsung hero, but really has so much kind of fight to where you can get that whole team going, the whole arena going, but he's not the star of the team.
I mean, the only one, obviously every player is unique, and he's very unique in his approach and everything else, but the closest thing to him, Raja Bell was like that, where he would just get under everybody else's skin but our team and our crowd. And they have that type of competitive spirit, and you don't find it too often. That's pretty rare.
Coach, do you feel like there was a little bit of goading from OKC on getting calls from the refs and things like that?
Give me again.
You feel like there was a little bit of goading, from some of the players on the OKC side, getting calls from refs?
Well, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. That's normal. They're competitive. We are. Everybody cries a little bit. I think it's normal.
When you look at the rebounding in this game, and you out-rebounded them 56-41, but you have Nene and Clint combined for 12. How much of that is them just getting a body on somebody and allowing Pat and James and Ryan to get in there?
No, that's key. And then Ryan went after him. And it depends on when the ball bounces, too. Sometimes you're there all night and just you didn't get them. But As long as we can even out the rebounding, I'm happy with that. We don't have to beat them, but we can't have a big deficit. And I thought Nene and Clint did their job, and Pat always comes back and gets them. James gets them. And then Ryan tonight really got a lot.
You talked a lot about effort on the glass, and to hold them to 7 offensive rebounds and only 4 second chance points, is that as decisive as anything that happened tonight?
Without a doubt. That's probably, other than I don't think we didn't turn it over much. We kept them out of transition. We would have liked to made more shots, obviously. But keep them out of transition and not let them get offensive rebounds, that was the key of the whole game. I don't know, points to the
All right, Rockets win by 31, third largest in their playoff history. Stephen A. Smith with us on SportsCenter. There he is. Stephen, I am not sure exactly how much big picture we can draw from Game 1. But what can we draw from Game 1 between these two teams and the two players?
Well, what you can draw is that Houston has considerably better shooters. When you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, they shot about 39 to 40%. They weren't hitting perimeter shots. They turned the ball over about 9 times in the third quarter. And the reality is clear. In terms of an offensive producer, it's Russell Westbrook and then a bunch of guys that we don't really care for. This really comes down to that. Whether it's Adams, whether it's a Taj Gibson, whether it's a Victor Oladipo or what have you, take into consideration the fact that even though Russell Westbrook, clearly a leading candidate for league MVP honors after the sensational regular season that he had, he still took about 400 more shots than a James Harden. He still averaged about 24 shots per game, while Victor Oladipo, next in line on the Oklahoma City Thunder, shot just 14. You've got a guy in Andre Roberson whose offensive game is so bad, it's offensive, and even though he can play some defense. And so when you take all of those things into consideration, if you're going up a team like the Houston Rockets, number 1 in three-point attempts, number 1 in three-point field goals made, with a league MVP candidate themselves in James Harden, who damn near averaged a triple-double himself, averaging 29, 11, and 8. You take all of those things into consideration with the parts that he's got around him. A shooter in Eric Gordon, a shooter in Ryan Anderson, a shooter and a scorer in Lou Williams, an active big man in Clint Capella. You just look at the parts of Trevor Ariza, who's capable of hitting perimeter shots. They just have the requisite weapons in today's NBA system that really facilitates better basketball on the offensive end of the floor in terms of fluidity as opposed to physicality. Oklahoma City simply has no chance as far as I'm concerned if you can't allow them to beat up somebody. And by the way, they got beat up on the boards tonight as well. So there you have it. Every way you slice it, they got beat up tonight.
I was going to say, so does Billy Donovan have anything he can do to adjust, I don't know if it's game 1 or 2, but to get 4 wins out of this thing?
Well, first of all, there's always prayer. It is Easter Sunday.
Sure,
he can pray a lot. He can pray a lot. We know this. Outside of that, Russell Westbrook has to put forth a Herculean performance, not just for himself, but in a manner that will facilitate a level of production from other guys. He's going to have to get guys open shots, because when they're contested, they can't seem to hit the backside of the ocean. This is the problem with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then when your skill is to beat everybody on the boards, and Houston manages to beat you on the boards as well, what hope do you have? You can't beat Houston if they're getting rebounds. They're limiting you to 1 shot. They're generating extra opportunities for themselves, plus they're better perimeter shooters, and they're led by a guy with James Harden, who also has the ball in his hands. This is a guy that when he was playing in Oklahoma City with Kevin Durant, with Russell Westbrook, with Serge Ibaka, there were questions as to whether or not he was a better point guard and facilitator than Russell Westbrook. And that's when he was young and coming into his own. So you know what people are saying about him now, and he's got the ball in his hands with a guy that allows them to freelance the way that Mike D'Antoni does. Oklahoma City Thunder, as I said before this series began, is in a world of trouble because they don't have the firepower outside of Russell Westbrook to offset what Houston is going to throw at them.
All right, all 16 playoff teams have hit the floor now in the postseason. Give me your favorite thing from any of the 8 game ones over the last couple of days.
The Greek Freak in Milwaukee. Antetokounmpo. This dude is something special. He's long, he's lanky, he's athletic, he's got game, and they did not just beat the Toronto Raptors. They beat them up. You got Don Baker and these other guys. You got Brogdon, who's a Rookie of the Year candidate. These guys go after it. They play hard. They defend. They sent the message to Toronto when you take into account the fact that Kyle Lowry is a miniature guard who does well for you during the regular season, but during the postseason, he's usually inconsistent. consistent because he might have one good game, but then a couple of bad games because of his miniature stature. And DeRozan is a scorer, but not a shooter. If you're looking at Milwaukee, they're going to challenge you, and you're going to have to be able to hit perimeter shots in order to beat them. But they've got individuals to answer the call, and the Greek Freak is what stood out of my mind. I paid attention to the Clippers and them losing to Utah without Rudy Gobert, who went down in 17 seconds. I saw what happened tonight to Houston, to Oklahoma City against Houston. I saw Portland give Golden State a run for their money for 3.5 quarters. But in the end, the storyline that I walked away with is that the Greek Freak is coming. He's an all-star. He's bursting onto the scene. He is establishing himself as a bona fide young star in this game. And I don't know if the third-seeded Toronto Raptors are going to be able to handle Milwaukee. It might be a bit too much for them.
Individual performance, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you what you thought of Isaiah Thomas today.
It was spectacular considering what he's going through, to be quite honest with you. I mean, as somebody that lost a brother many years ago, you never get over that. And it's over 20 years that's happened to me. And, and I was around his age when it happened. And to hear this noise about his sister, to hear that his sister died in a single car accident. By the way, my brother died in a car accident. It's a devastating blow. And I felt for him. My heart went out to him and his family. He's a great kid. He's an MVP candidate himself. He's a terrific player who worked his way up, and, that's your little sister. You love her dearly, and for her to pass away so abruptly, for you never to see that coming, to have to be pulled aside by Avery Bradley and brought into the trainer's room where the news was broken to you on the eve of a playoff game after the season that the Boston Celtics had, your heart just goes out to somebody like him. Again, he's a great kid. He's got a lot of great friends around the league. I was with him and Allen Iverson during NBA All-Star Weekend, and he was so happy, and Allen Iverson was so proud of him because of the kind of season that he's having and the kind of kid that he really is. You just don't wish anything like that upon anybody. But as when you see a guy like him, family-oriented, good guy, worked really, really hard to get to this point, was looking very much forward to validating his MVP candidate stature, and then to get that news on the eve of it all, I can tell you right now, it's just a devastating blow, and I don't know if he'll ever get over it, but my heart goes out to him and his family, and I'm sure that I speak for everybody at ESPN who obviously feels the same way. You don't wish this on anybody.
No, tragic and certainly a marvelous performance under those conditions by him. Stephen A. Smith here now. Thanks, and we will obviously see you Monday.